Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, from wherever you are listening to this message from. This is TDM Ministries, and today I wanted to share with you something that I have been thinking about, and it's a tool, and it's a tool that when we were young, it was it was used by boys, to play with, and more especially they would use it using stones when they wanted to hunt birds. When I was reflecting on that tool, it sort of like reminded me of sometimes how life is. And I kept thinking about the symbolism of that tool to our lives. And that tool is called a sling. It's called a sling. It's called a sling or a shepherd's sling. And when I was thinking about that tool, I was also reflecting my life using that tool. That sometimes you can have a lot of things and a lot of stuff going on in your life. Setbacks, things are not working. You feel you're discouraged, you want to give up. And the enemy can use a lot of things to happen at once, can cause a lot of things to happen at once so that you feel like you are not moving or you feel like you're stuck, so that you give up on the little hope that you have, or you give up on the efforts that you've been putting over time. And I got myself reflecting on that tool, the way that tool works. That tool works by you pulling it backwards. For you to be able to get a shot as high or as far as you want, you have to stretch it backwards. You have to stretch it backward in a way that until you cannot stretch it anymore. And then you use whatever it is you're using to hit your target after pulling, so that the farther you pull it backward, the higher it will shoot, or the farthest it will shoot. And many a times we do go through scenarios like the shepherds, how they use the tool. You feel like you have been stretched backward so much that you feel you cannot take it. You are strained, finances are not working, emotions are not working, social life is not working, like literally nothing is working, and you are stretched beyond what you feel you cannot take. You are stretched so much backwards that you feel you're about to break. But I found myself reflecting on that tool, that the further away or the further backward that tool is stretched, the farthest or the highest it hits. So sometimes our challenges can act like that sling tool, pulling us so backward, further backward, that we get to a point where we feel we cannot take this anymore and we want to quit, we want to give up. Nothing is making sense. People who you thought were your friends or family or relatives or even colleagues have turned against you, and you feel like completely nothing is working. But I am reminded, God was reminding me of that shepherd sling, that you can decide if you want it to work for you good or not. You can decide that stretch you're getting pulled backward, if you're going to use it to keep yourself down, or you're going to use those circumstances to pray harder, to increase your faith, to search harder, to fight harder, so that you can hit your target, you can go as far as you want or as high as you want. So sometimes our being stretched backward can be a blessing in disguise, because the farther you're stretched backwards, when you aim your shot, the farthest you will hit, or the highest. And sometimes our setbacks and our stretching backwards can actually be a blessing in disguise, that God is allowing us to go through those situations and circumstances so that He can prepare us for what is ahead of us, for what He is, for how far He wants to take us. So it is not necessarily always such a negative thing or a bad thing. So if you're in the middle of such a situation like I am in right now, I want to believe in God with you, that no matter how stretched backward we will be, we will still come out victorious and better than where we were when we were being stretched. So it is my prayer that whatever situation you're in right now that looks very impossible, hard, that God will use that situation to propel you even further and higher, and that you're able to go and aim higher, and you progress so much that your pain or your stretching will not matter anymore. That by the time you are coming back from that stretch, you will no longer be the same. You will no longer be the same average person that you are. You will no longer have the same average blessing that you have. That you will have greater blessings, a greater revelation, greater breakthrough in situations, circumstances, and whatever it is you're trusting in God for. So today, I am learning to thank God in my stretching. It's very uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good at all. But I am learning to remain content and trust that God knows what He is doing with me in this season. And so, brethren, if you're stretched beyond what you feel you can take right now, trust God in that situation, and trust God like that sling, the way it is stretched backwards, that by the time you release it, it will be able to hit your target and more. Anything that you desire or want, it will hit and it will deliver in a magnitude that only God can be able to release. That is the motivation for the day. Stay blessed. This is TDM Ministries. Until next time, shalom, shalom, shalom.